Good evening, folks. Welcome to Unapologetic Tea Time with your host, PG. That's me. How's everyone doing out there this evening? Folks, I'm not going to be very long. I'm a bit under the weather, still kind of humdrum, melancholy, down and out. Oh man, trying to shake this depression and everything. And it's kind of tough, y'all. It's kind of tough. Um, Yesterday was the last few days, in fact, was spent, pretty much in bed, on the couch, you know, just trying to pull myself together. I had a doctor's appointment, so I did have to go out on yesterday and was right back inside. I just wasn't feeling it. Hadn't been feeling it today, but I have a channel and I have a commitment to um, all of my subscribers, my new subscribers, as well as my continued awesome supportive subscribers and the like. So I owe it to you to show up and show out. Um, it's a push. Y'all ain't lying. I'm pushing myself. You just don't know how much I'm pushing myself to be at this computer and on this microphone. But enough of my woe is me, into the topics for this evening. And it's just a little bit of Wednesday night chit chat with PG, your host with Unapologetic Tea Time. That's me. Well, y'all, it's it's been quite interesting. I've been into some deep thought and what have you already. It is 15 days into the new year of 2020. Wow, time really flies when you're having fun and when you're not having fun and you're just doing whatever you do on a daily. It continues to move. So I tell everyone who may be listening or who will listen in the future at a later date or a later time, enjoy it now, do what you do, make things happen, because there's no time like the present, and time waits for no man. Um, a lot going on across the globe. A lot going on across the globe. First off, let's talk about the weather. Um, to get into a little bit of a lighter thing, a topic right now is the weather. We have some unbelievably, unseasonably warm weather in some of the states across the U.S. And into Canada. Now, in the next couple of days, we're talking, well, the Weather Channel and the local weather stations were talking just this evening about the record temperatures that will plummet in some places across the U.S. More or less, I guess that would be the Midwest and the West Coast area. Here in the South, where I am in Georgia, we're not going to get any real, I guess you could say, kind of frigid cold until towards the very beginning of next week. Well, late this weekend into early next week. I guess starting late Sunday into Monday, and for the next few days of next week. But I say that to say that definitely climate change, global warming, that's not a lie. That is, it's here in our faces, and we are faced with it. And unfortunately, if um, our lawmakers, our scientists, our um, leaders don't do something about it, um, we're going to be faced with a serious consequence. And it'll be probably more than one consequence. I mean, there will be shortages. There will be some food shortages, of course. You know, we kind of laugh and we kind of mumble amongst ourselves about While how uncanny some of the weather has been in the last few years, but really and truly, when you look at things and put things into perspective, you really can't hardly tell the seasons apart these days, because just late last week into earlier this week here, it was near 70 degrees. It was in the high 60s, like 66, 68. And that's unseasonably warm in January in Georgia. Unseasonably warm. And in other places, like in Louisiana, where I'm from, some areas did hit 69, almost 70 degrees. And that's still unseasonably warm for even in the deep, dirty South. So, just let's be mindful about our carbon stamp and our carbon footprint, and what each individual person can do to maybe curtail some of this global warming. We have a lot of work to do, and in a short time to do it in, unfortunately. So let's be mindful, everyone, about global warming, and let's all try to do our due diligence to brush up on what needs to be done, and what we can hold our uh, elected officials' feet to the fire on, and encourage and assist in any way that we can as everyday citizens where we live, um, to make certain that these changes began to occur. Because if they do not, we are going to be faced again with serious issues that we may not be able to control once, the shit hits the fan. Excuse my expression, but once the shit hits the fan. Moving right along, I want to talk about um, the amount of flu cases, you all, that have been in the news and just on a daily, that you hear from family members, friends, and you may be at the supermarket, the library, the mall, the wherever, and you hear, it's all the rage, it's all the talk about someone's loved one, or someone's coworker or friend, or the neighbor across the street, or whatever, is ill with the flu and is literally in the hospital. The strand of flu that has been really going around here, that is so early in the season, is the influenza B strand, which is very uncommon to come around so soon in this time of the year, this time of flu season. It normally is the last part of the flu strand that kind of hits and doesn't do very much in that regard. But there's been many deaths already, and there will be, according to the CDC's report that was just put out some hours ago. The major CDC one of the major CDC hubs is here in the Atlanta metro area. And there was a CDC blast that was put out that talks about how this year's flu epidemic is really reaching record proportions, and the influenza B strand is certainly very unusual to be causing this great havoc so soon in the flu season. So they are saying that the flu shot that we get every year certainly will, it can still offer some benefits and protections in some cases, but in not all cases. And also that it's still beneficial to go ahead and get if you have not received the flu vaccination yet this year, to go ahead and get it, to kind of get your body into some type of resistance mode. And certainly if you come down with the flu and it's influenza A, which is your regular run of the mill flu, it will not be so bad on you. They did talk about, and I want to discuss this with you, my listening audience, is that a lot of people that have been affected are people that are young at age, and a lot of people, teenagers, especially under the age of 19. Um, there's been several deaths. There's been many hospitalizations for these children or teenagers, and they are on life support, a lot of them, and the kidneys have shut down and what have you. In fact, I know of someone's husband who was on life support. In fact, they had gone on a cruise in November. They came back, everything was fine. He caught a cold. The next thing you know, the man was down there in Emory Hospital, Midtown in Atlanta, on life support in a matter of 3 days. And he is still not out of the hospital. He has been there since, I think, December the 1st or 2nd, and it is January 15th of 2020. So that says a lot. This is a big burly guy, not overweight, but a large frame guy, worked out, muscular, very muscular, uh, goes to the gym, runs, takes care of themselves, from the outer appearance, and was hit with a major blow, and is still in the hospital till as we speak right now. There is a young man, a high school student, a high school senior here in Georgia that I know of, who was stricken with the flu, influenza B strand, and the young man is on dialysis and is still in Eggleston Children's Hospital here in Atlanta. He was in a coma for several days, and thank God he made it out. But he is still not able to go home. The young man is still on kidney dialysis and a number of other things. He has to try to work through his body. His young body has to work through. So parents, please, if your child or children get sick with a cough and start sneezing and they got a fever, please get them some help. Don't try to treat them at home too long. Please, within 24 hours, get them to an ER, so that they can be definitely properly diagnosed for the flu, and so that the medical professionals can take over and work to save your child or children, because we don't want, certainly, any more deaths. But unfortunately, there will be some more, according to the CDC, and quite a number more hospitalizations due to this terrible outbreak of influenza B. But I hope and I pray that this gets into some kind of control shortly, before it continues to wreak havoc on the population and the citizens of this great nation. You all, earlier today, there was an Amber Alert that was wide open in Massachusetts, where a young child had gotten off of their school bus and was abducted right off of the school bus, right in their little neighborhood. Luckily, just a little while ago, I did learn from a news source that the child had been found, and is going through evaluation to see, and of course some questioning to try to see what happened and who it is, what the person, what their motives were or whatever. So kudos to the authorities for jumping on and quickly into action to try to get this child back to safety as quickly as possible, because we all know too many times when something of that nature happens to our children, um, sometimes we don't see them again, or we see them in a state that we don't want to see them. We end up burying them or whatever, or we may never find them again. So I am so glad that that worked out well, that that child was saved and was unharmed. Moving right along, I want to talk about something that I've had on my mind for a little while now, and I thought that it would be fitting to talk about briefly this evening. And that is, I have a question for all of my viewers, my listeners, my listening audience, my subscribers, my future subscribers, and all of the folks that just happen to tune in. Is I want to know if democracy, is it for sale? My question is democracy for sale? And the reason I pose this question is simple, because I look at what has gone on in the last election, where we know for a fact that foreign countries interfered in our election, and that a very technical company by the name of Cambridge Analytica, um, and other big tech companies actually were paid money to interfere in the 2016 election. So we have a problem. Is our democracy up for sale? And if so, then what can we do as American citizens to curtail this? Because we cannot have our democracy. One, we can't continue to have it challenged. Two, we cannot sell our democracy as a country. We just can't do that and think that it's okay, and that nothing's going to happen that much, and that we are all going to continue to walk and move and continue to go in a positive direction or whatever, and nothing ever is going to trickle down, because we have seen firsthand, y'all, what has happened by our democracy being challenged and interfered with in the last presidential election. And we know for a fact, during a lot of the gubernatorial races and elections that took place last year and in other years prior, that there were a lot of voter suppression. There was a lot of things, technical things that went wrong in the voting, at the voting precincts, that were technicalities supposedly, but actually it was from on a technical issue. So who's to say that a tech company or a few tech companies didn't get together and thank you, Tim. Have a nice evening. Thanks for tuning in. Um, who's to say that a lot of these tech companies weren't paid money to actually throw an election towards a particular candidate of choice by some other big name or big wigs? Certainly, Steve Bannon is connected or was connected at one time to Cambridge Analytica. So, and we all know who Steve Bannon is. We've got other people that's connected to some of these companies. And it's unfortunate that we have to pose this question. But I want everyone to not be naive to the fact of what is going on and what is present right now. We have serious work to do, and we have serious work to do before the 2020 election takes place. Um, we have to show up. We have to show up and show out at the polls. We must get certainty that and clarification that our names, your name, my name, your mama's name, your cousin's name, whomever is still living and who can crawl to the polls or be led to the polls, who still has their right mind and able to pull the lever or to write in the ballot or whatever they need to do, we need to make certain that your name is still on the rolls. Because Georgia is one of those states that just purged, I don't know how many thousands of people's names from the voter rolls. Some of them, oh, they said, oh, it was a mistake. No, it wasn't a fucking mistake, you son of a bitches. It was because you're trying to suppress its voter suppression. You're trying to keep certain ethnicities, certain economic status, I've lost my train of thought, but you're trying to keep certain economic core statuses from voting. You're trying to keep certain demographics out of the races, basically. So they don't have a leg to stand on, because, you know, if you don't get the votes, then how are you going to win the election? Everything, it's a numbers game, and it's very, very critical that we each challenge ourselves individually to try to make certain that your elderly neighbor or your elderly aunt or your mama, your dad, your grandparents, your brothers, your sisters, who may just be getting of the age to vote, that they get to the polls, that they know when it's time to register. The time is now. There's no time like the present. Maybe your uncle hasn't voted in a number of years. Well, his or her name, aunt or uncle or somebody, their name may not be on the rolls any longer. Right now is the time to start inquiring. Right now is the time to start to find out if you've moved recently over the last year or so, even of the last 6 months or so. Make certain that you are still going to be able to vote in that same geographical area that you did the last time, or take a trip to the voter registrar's office. Find out, do your change of address. Make certain that you have a valid ID when you go to the polls. Make certain that you have these things already in place. Vote early if you can, and while you can. Make certain that you have all of your ducks in a row, because this is going to be the most crucial election in our time right now in the year 2020. It is going to be the most important election probably of this decade and into the next century, actually, to be honest, because we got some work to do, y'all. We got some work to do. Well, y'all, I see that today the articles of impeachment made it over to the Senate with all of its pomp and circumstances. So, what does that mean? Well, that means that the no good Senate, the majority Republicans, can now start the fucking trial. Now, will it be a fair and impartial trial? Probably not. Just yesterday, Lev Parnas, they released some damning evidence that they had from some text messages and emails and what have you. It really sounded to me when I read over some of the things that they had stated, y'all, it sounded as though someone had put a hit out on the ambassador to Ukraine, Levanovich, actually. And fortunately, someone from the State Department made a phone call and told that woman that her security was at risk to get on a plane immediately and get on the fuck up out of there because her security was at risk. Now, I really think someone had put a hit out on her. Who put the hit? I don't know. I think that they were going to probably try to scare her, but who knows? Something could have went horribly wrong. There's a lot at stake, so who knows if they weren't going to kill her? You know, over there, hell, you know, foreign country, hell, we probably would have never got the straightening of it, you know? Now, Parnas and what's his name? Not Gustav. Parnas and I'm gonna say Parnas and his fellow gang member. Parnas said, fuck it, I'm not trying to go to fucking jail. I'm not trying to rot away in a goddamn cell in the USA. I'm fixing to fucking start telling. You cannot tell if you want to, goddamn it. But I'm fixing to sing like a fucking bird. Here we go. And he done said some shit. And look, it's going to be quite interesting. Now, whether or not they're going to introduce that into evidence during the trial, I don't see why they wouldn't. But of course, I feel that the repugs are going to do everything in their power not to use that as evidence against Donald Jackass Trump. However, I'm glad that they released this information, and they are continuing to release information as they find it, the evidence out, and it is factual, because the American people need to know. The American people need to know. Yes, we do. We're citizens of this great nation, and we need to know. We need to know. And I'm hoping that when the Senate takes that oath early next week, when to start the trial or whatever they're going to fucking do, that they don't lie, that they take the oath serious and do the right thing, whether or not they fucking agree with it. You see, you can do the right thing towards something. You may not want to, or you may not agree with something, but you know fucking right from wrong. I need them to do the right thing. You know, find it deep down within themselves to do the right thing. And if it's to remove this son of a bitch from office, then fucking remove him. Because in my book, it's already a closed book in my book, okay? Because in my mind, I would be doing the right thing by voting to remove his ass from office, period. Not to let him continue. You got to fucking go. You got to you ain't got to go home. You don't have to go back to Trump Tower. We don't give a fuck where you go. You just got to get off of Pennsylvania Avenue. Okay? That's in my opinion, okay? And this is Unapologetic Tea Time with your host, PG, that's me. And that's my fucking opinion, and I'm going to stick to it. Because what? This is my channel, and this is my opinion, okay? So I didn't ask anybody else for their opinion. I'm giving my opinion, okay? If it was otherwise someone else's opinion, I would tell you so. Okay, and I would have it in the notes, or I would have it in the details, you know, but it's my fucking opinion. I'm hoping that they find it within themselves as professionals and as lawmakers, to do the right thing and do what is just and the right thing for the country, and not do what they think is right in order to protect themselves, in order to be able to get voted back in the office or whatever. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. That's what we need these folks to do, is the right thing. Moving right along, folks, swiftly and professionally. The last thing that I want to touch on, the last two things that I want to touch on is, of course, the last, week or so, I've been really battling with my depression, and I want to let you all know that there's someone that you know or know of that is suffering, probably in silence, or that may be suffering, and you know that they're suffering. You know that they have an issue, or you know that they're depressed or going through a bout of depression. Please try to talk to them, reach out to them, try to encourage them to get themselves some help, or the necessary help that they need to sustain themselves, because mental illness is real, depression is real, and people will say, oh, you're strong. And I'm going to say this again. Yes, strong is one thing, but when you're battling a chemical imbalance in your fucking brain, or if you have depression and PTSD and adjustment disorder like I have, you can't pray your way out of it. You can't think your way out of it all the time. I have oodles and oodles and oodles, y'all, of coping skills and techniques and mechanisms in place. And sometimes, y'all, I have to step back. Sometimes I have to cover up my head. Sometimes I don't get out of the bed. Sometimes. So I say to you, reach out to your loved ones, your family members, your friends, your neighbor, your coworker. Let them know you're there. Let them know if they need someone, they can talk to them. Because sometimes it's a matter of life and death. It's just that simple. Sometimes you could turn a person around from committing that ultimate sin of taking their life. You don't know. Reach out and talk to someone who you know may be suffering, or who you know, in fact, that is suffering. And let them know that there is hope and there is tomorrow, and that whatever they're going through, certainly, you may not be able to fix it, no, but you certainly can walk with them into the nearest mental health facility, or the nearest psychiatrist's office, or the nearest counseling office, or the nearest EAP, employment assistance programs office, or something, or just to phone them and say, hey, how are you doing? You need anything? Are you okay? Have you gotten up today? Have you taken a shower? Have you eaten? Can I come by and take you to lunch? Can I come by and just talk with you? It makes a world of difference. You just never know. So don't take it for granted that a person is so strong that, oh, they'll be all right. They'll shake it out. They'll shake it off. Don't take that for granted. The last thing that I want to talk about, you guys, is there is a 104-year-old Marine veteran. His name is Major Bill White, and of course he's retired. He's a retired major with the United States Marine Corps, and this was a story that really it really made me smile, and it really kind of like, wow, he was still happy, pushing along in his walker. Um, he lives at a I guess a care home. Um, but he says he keeps breathing. He says, well, what's the secret or whatever to your longevity? Well, he's I keep breathing. And he says he likes to collect things. He always has. And that this year he wishes that people would send him some Valentine's Day greeting cards. So I put the information down in the description of this show's notes in hopes that um his address and everything, he's in California, and that if everybody would send him one card, I mean, I'm sure he's going to have probably a mail sack of cards, and that would just be great for him to open and go through them and look at them and read some of the some of the little messages that people may write in there. I am definitely going to send um, retired Major Bill White a Valentine's Day card this year. Who knows? This may be his last Valentine's Day. Who knows? This may be a lot of our last Valentine's Day or whatever, but this is his wish. He's 104 years old. Y'all, let's make his day. I did put all the information. It's only going to cost, you can go to a dollar store. You can even go to Dollar General, and I think they have some 2 for $1 cards or a dollar card or what. It's not going to cost you much to send this man a card. And I plan on doing it. And I'm going to ask each and every one of you, if you find it in your heart, do it. His information is in my show's notes in the description of this broadcast, and you can get everything there. I have it all written out. And also, while you're there, please do me a favor, share this vlog and this podcast with family, friends, and coworkers, please. Also, don't forget to hit that thumbs up icon or that thumbs up button and give me a like. Also, please comment. Tell me how you like the vlog or the podcast today or this evening. And yeah, so do me a favor and peruse through. I do have a lot of the savings apps, and along with my referral codes that give you some extra bonus points and money just for signing up. Those savings apps can save you quite a bit of money during the year 2020, especially if you start in January and you keep going through the month of December. You will be surprised when you look back at all your receipts just for buying groceries or whatever, and how much you have actually literally saved. So I invite you to take advantage and use those links and use my referral codes, and help me help yourself. In doing so, I take great pride, and I'm just grateful that my know-how and what I know how to do and can do in order to help others save money and live a better life. Because things, as we know, y'all, are not getting any cheaper for anyone. So it's nice when we can save a little bit on groceries, or we can save a little bit on an item that we were going to purchase any old way. And the manufacturers and the marketers have gotten together and decided to pay us just to purchase basically that product or those products. It can make a world of difference in your wallet and can allow you to actually have a little bit more buying power, or to save up for something that you need, or to add a few more dollars to your rainy day fund or whatever. So please take advantage of a lot of the apps and the descriptions I have in below in my description of today's show notes. So take advantage of it while you can. Also, I do have my post office box address. I like to receive mail here and there every now and again. So if you feel inclined to send me a postcard or a little greeting card or a note or something, do so. I also don't mind reviewing products or whatever, or if you got something that you want me to review, or if you're a company and happen to listen in to my channel and you want to send me something to review, um, please know that the review will be all my opinion, and you can't pay me to do the review for the simple reason, um, it's going to be unbiased. And when you pay me, then sometimes people have a tendency, or companies have a tendency, to think that um, they're going to get a favorable review. If your product sucks and you send it to me, I'm going to say, what I found wrong, the pros and cons. And that's just my opinion, and that's just my review. It is what it is. So it is what it is, y'all. But anyway, I'm going to go on ahead and get up off of here. I've babbled on. And like I said, I'm not feeling my best. I'm not feeling my best at all. I feel tired. I'm trying out a different medication, and I've only been on it for the last 2 days. Well, 3 days now, because it's Wednesday, and it seems to be okay, but it has a little bit of side effects when you first start. So I have to get over that, and yeah, we shall see. It's life is a journey itself, and it is what it is. But I hope that you all have a great rest of your evening. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Thank you for tuning in. If you're tuning in at a later date, that's fine with me too. Please remember that you have been listening to Unapologetic Tea Time with your host, PG. That's me. Don't forget to go over to my blog at www.unapologetic-time with pg.com, and over there you will find opinions, helpful hints, helpful tips, daily living, money saving apps, a lot of things that you perhaps can use, and if not, you can pass it along to someone who may be able to use that information. Also, y'all, before I get off of here, I want to let you know that on um, January the 18th, Sam's Clubs. Yes, Sam's Clubs. You don't have to have a membership to take advantage of. They're going to be having a free health screening. And it's going to go on up until 4 p.m. on January the 18th. And they will be doing cholesterol screenings, blood pressure screenings, and a few other screenings that you may be able to go and take advantage of, especially if you know someone who may not have insurance, or their insurance doesn't cover certain things. They may be able to get it done there, certainly. So again, it's going to be over at any of the Sam Club locations. If you want to go, or if you plan on giving the information to someone, you can tell them to call their nearest Sam's Club and find out about the health screenings that's supposed to take place on January the 18th. And January the 18th is this coming Saturday. It is a free event, and it is open to the public, and it's at any of the Sam's locations that has a pharmacy at their location. And to my knowledge, I think all of the Sam's Clubs have pharmacies. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But it did state, when I did get the information from them, it did state that the event is going to take place at any of the locations that have a pharmacy at them. So it did state that. And again, it did state that it was free and open to the public and that you do not need a membership in order to take advantage of the free health screenings that will be taking place on Saturday, the 18th of January. And it is supposed to start at 11 a.m. and last until 4 p.m. And some of the screenings supposed to include blood glucose screenings, blood pressure screenings, a vision and hearing screening where applicable. Now, I don't know, not all of the Sam's Clubs that I know have that little optometry shop in them. I'm not certain. So if it doesn't, then they probably won't be able to do the vision and hearing check. But they should be able to do the rest of them that I named off. And also, looking back over my notes from them, it also talks about that where applicable as well, there's going to be body fat screening, and a total cholesterol and HDL check as well. There will be product samples available as well. So that's pretty decent within itself. If you're in need of any of those screenings and can't afford to get them done, you can go and find your nearest Sam's Club without even having a membership and go and participate in some of those health screenings, and get that done. And you'll be glad that you did, because it could potentially save your life, especially if you don't know that, and it comes back that you have hypertension or high cholesterol, or perhaps diabetes, or maybe borderline diabetic, pre-diabetes or something. It could potentially save your life or someone else's life if you just give the information and pass it along. Again, Sam's Club is giving a free health screening on January the 18th, which is this coming Saturday from 11 to 4 p.m. So definitely just pass that information along, y'all. That's all I ask that you do. Hey, that's all you can do. If you can't use it, pass it along with someone who possibly can. It doesn't cost you a dime. It's free of charge. Well, y'all, like I said, it's been good. It's been real. Someone out here needs to hear the words, I love you. Someone needs to know that definitely trouble doesn't last always. I can't tell you when you will get out of your situation, but know that there is an end in sight and the end is near. So with that being said, you do you. I'm going to do me. Stay focused, keep your head up, chin up, keep grinding. Peace out, y'all. Bye now.